Jagmohan and Manpreet, if you're able to mute your mics if you're not speaking, please.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
We are live now.
We are indeed. Okay. Bear with me, please. Good morning. My name's Councillor Anthony Kelly. I'll be chairing today's meeting of 15th November. Sorry, it's not the 15th, it's the 6th of November. Allenby News 247 to 249, Allenby Road, Southall, Middlesex, UB1 2HB. My colleagues are Councillor Julian Gallant and Councillor Sanjay Kohli. We are today's subcommittee. I'm also joined by Sam Kirkin, who is clerk to the committee and will be minuting the meeting, and Hatun Zeb, who is legal advisor to the subcommittee. You will have received or seen in the agenda pack within which is contained the licensing officer's report with details of the application in section 100. To confirm, we are dealing with the application to review a premises license made by Mr. Bob Deere at Allenby News 247-249 Allenby Road, Southall, UB1 2HB. In accordance with procedure, I shall invite the applicant to present the application, answer any questions and call upon any witnesses. And I'll invite those who have made representations to make their representations, answer any questions and call upon any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and Democratic Services Officer, will retire to consider their decision, our decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed within 5 working days. If the panel cannot reach a decision, you'll be notified of such within 5 working days. So to go to Mr. Bob Deere, just to remind people, if they're not speaking, to have their mics off. That is much more helpful for the meeting. Thank you. Mr. Deere.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, indeed, this is a hearing for Allenby News that was served on the 26th of October 2023, following 2 visits over a 3-year period to the premises where illicit products were found. The first visit was on Friday, the 28th of February 2020. Excuse me. We'd received intelligence that the premises were selling illicit tobacco products. And after identifying myself, I explained the purpose of the visit to the shop assistant, Jagmohan Singh. I went behind the counter to inspect the spirits and cigarette gantry and then check the storeroom. When I went out the rear door, I saw a rack of wrapping paper that had been left outside and been soaked by the rain. A photograph of this is in the pack. When I looked behind it, I saw a yellow Morrison's bag covered with plastic. I asked Mr. Singh what was in the bag, and he replied, cigarettes. A photograph was taken of these, and it's exhibit RD2. The bag that was taken inside and the contents were counted and found to contain 92 times 20 packets of different brands of cigarettes, 1 packet of 10 cigarettes, and 9 times 50-gram pouches of roll your own tobacco. And there was also 17 pouches of Indian tobacco. These were signed over for destruction, and whilst making notes, I noticed Mr. Singh fidgeting with something in the pockets of his gilet. When asked what it was, he removed a further 2 packets of cigarettes, and these brands were the same that were in the Morrison's bag. And these, I now exhibit my notes from that visit, where Mr. Jagmohan Singh signed them, is actually in the papers. On Tuesday, the 14th of February of this year, I attended premises with Senior Trade and Standards Officer, Mr. Brian Gohary, after receiving further intelligence that the premises were selling illicit tobacco products, and these were hidden all around the shop. Behind the counter, we met Mr. Jagmohan Singh, and after explaining the purpose of our visit, he was asked if there were any illicit products hidden around the shop. He denied the allegation and was told again that if the officers were that if he told the officers where their products were, he'd be given a final warning against prosecution. We began searching inside the shop, and it was so busy, I went outside to look among the products there. And we found some illicit products behind the bags of charcoal. Behind other bags of charcoal, I found an orange Sainsbury's carrier bag which contained 34 packets of cigarettes, and that is photographed. I then opened a plastic container normally used to return newspapers and magazines, and found 8 times 50-gram pouches of roll-your-own tobacco and 14 pouches of Indian tobacco. Inside the shop, beside the fridge, the officer, Officer Gohari, found a green plastic bag containing 100 pouches of Indian tobacco. A photograph was taken. Officer Gohari completed the Consumer Rights Act and Police and Criminal Evidence Act notices and gave them to Mr. Singh. Officer Gohari completed and listed all the products seized in front of Mr. Singh, who signed their receipt and notices and was given copies. All the cigarettes, tobacco and Asian tobacco were placed in the bags, sealed in Mr. Singh's presence. He was then informed that consideration would be given to reviewing the premises licence. In total, over the 2 visits, 2,570 cigarettes, 850 grams of roll-your-own tobacco and 860 grams of Indian tobacco were seized, and the unpaid duty on those products amounts to £1,225. There are no other witnesses and no other representations were received, Chair, and that is my case. Thank you.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Dare. At this point, we ask Mr. Davenport if you have any questions for Mr. Dare in relation to what he's just said.
No, I have no questions. We agree with his case, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. I don't have any other indication. I'll come to you in a moment, Councillor. It was just to go to Mr. Jogmohan. Mr. Gallant, Councillor Gallant, questions, sir?
Yeah, just got a very quick question. Both times, Mr. Deere, when you found these cigarettes and the packs of cigarettes, I think you might have answered it, but could you just answer it aloud now? Were there any health warnings on any of the cigarettes packages or on the tobacco pouches?
They were, sir, but obviously it's some were counterfeit, so obviously it's not the proper warning.
Okay, it's not the legal. They're not the legal established. No. Okay. Thank you.
No, sir.
Thanks.
Councillor Cody, any questions to Mr. Deere? Okay, thank you. Mr. Deere, thank you very much. Can I? Sorry, just something that is seems to be occurring more at the moment is poppy seeds. Were they labelled, these poppy seeds?
No, Chair. They were unlabelled and hidden behind the charcoal.
Right. So there was no labelling on them of any
No warnings, no what's ingredients. They were just plain plastic packets of them.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. And can I just confirm that when you seized those items on the 2 occasions, Mr. Jagmohan was was he in the premises?
Yes, he was on both occasions.
The gentleman that's with you today was there on both occasions. Yeah, is that correct?
Yes. I don't think, and I'm sure he will be able to tell us, was actually the premises license holder the first time he was there, but he was in charge of the shop. And the second occasion, he transferred the license into his name.
The gentleman that's with us today, Mr. Jagmohan. Fine.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Yeah, Councillor Cody wants to ask a question. Yeah, your mic, Sanjay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I'd like to address my question to Mr. Jagmohan Singh.
Okay, you're going to have to hold that.
Okay.
Yeah, you will get an opportunity. It's just the protocol. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just bear with me. Okay, so if I go to you now, Mr. Davenport, so if you want to make representation, sir.
Yes, sir. It's not the most serious breaches. The license holder realizes that what he's done is absolutely stupid. It's not a vast amount of money that he's defrauded the state out of. The assessment is £1,225 duty that should have been paid on those cigarettes. Sadly, it's a problem that's occurring in many corner shops around the country. Though in this case, in my respectful submission, it's not excessive offending compared to many cases that come before the courts and yourselves. He should have taken notice in 2020 when he was caught the first time, and he didn't. But at that stage, he wasn't the license holder. The new license was granted on the 1st of April 2022 when Mr. Singh was made license holder. And at that stage, he should have been more responsible in the way that he conducted his business. He hasn't, and he rightly deserves to be punished for that. As you know, sir, you have the power to revoke his license completely, but in my respectful submission, that would not be proportionate to the offences that have been committed. He needs to be punished, and that can be done properly, I would submit, by suspending his license for the maximum of 3 months. And also, I would add this as a condition, that he needs to designate a new designated premises supervisor. Then there is a third party keeping their eye on the property who has a vested interest in making sure that the license holder, Mr. Singh, does not commit any further offences of this nature.
Okay, so your submission is 3 months suspension and
Yes.
And change of DPS.
Change of DPS, please, sir. Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Questions to the Mr. Code, Sandy, you've got questions to the PLL, but you'll have to go through Mr. Davenport, so to speak. Yeah.
Sorry?
Even though your question may be to Mr. Singh, you'll have to address it to Mr. Davenport, and it's up to Mr. Davenport how he takes that question. Councillor Gallant, you've still got your yellow hand up, sir.
Yeah, yes, Chair. When you're ready, I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Davenport, what I want to make clear was on the second visit, obviously the officers offered Mr. Jagmohan Singh the chance of telling them where the products are and that he would get away with just a final warning. So the officer being very reasonable and fair, in my opinion. Does Mr. Jagmohan Singh acknowledge that? Does he acknowledge that he understood that fact?
Yeah, yes, he does. He does acknowledge that. He acknowledges that the council have been extremely fair. But in mitigation, he did produce pockets of cigarettes out of his pocket, which he'd no need to. In addition to the ones that had been found.
Okay. Chair, that's I think that's answered.
Yeah, he accepts his wrongdoing, so he's absolutely terrified at the prospects of losing his drinks license. It will seriously affect his business. That's what he's concerned about. He's been caught red-handed. He's held his hands up. He accepts everything that he's done wrong.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Davenport. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gallant, questions to Mr. Davenport?
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Davenport. The question is, I mean, you say he wasn't at DPS when the original visit happened in 2020, but I'm asking you, was he made properly aware, and was he aware that those were wrongful items to be holding in the shop? Second question is, I mean, it's an obvious question, is was he selling them to the public? And that's one question I'd like answered. And in the interim period between 2020 and 2023, did he continue to sell illicit cigarettes to the public?
I've no instructions or evidence that he was continuing to sell tobacco products in the interim period. It would seem, on the balance of probabilities, more likely that he was not, but he's been caught twice and he's held his hands up, sir.
So the question is, he was selling them to the public at one point or other.
He was selling them to the public in February 2020 and in February 2022. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you.
I should have said February 23. Sorry.
23, yes, I got the picture, yeah, but at the time of the second visit, yeah.
Yes, he accepts that.
He
Yes.
accepts that he was selling them to the public.
He
Yeah.
does, yes.
Right, thank you very much, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Davenport, could you expand on Mr. Jagmohan's any training he may have undergone, prior to taking over, since he's worked in the shop, what training he underwent in terms of licensing, and subsequently after getting the license?
Well, it appears he's being given very little, sir.
Okay.
Very little training. He's seeing a licensing agent now, and he will advise him as to his behaviour in the future. And he's intending himself to teach him what records should properly be kept and what items he's entitled to sell and what he's most certainly not entitled to sell. But he's had no proper training in the past. Everything was done in the shop on an ad hoc basis.
Okay. Mr. Right, just give me a moment. Right, 5 questions to the applicant from responsible authorities. Did Mr. Deere, did you have any questions to Mr. Davenport?
Just one, sir. He is the designated premises supervisor, so he would have done a licensing course to pass that, or to be able to attain his personal license. Has he passed a course?
That's a question I would need to ask Mr. Singh, if Mr. Singh can hear me.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes. Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Did you undertake a licensing course and a designated premises supervisor's course? Were you taught about that?
Okay.
When you were...
Let me translate that over to him, okay? To personal license course kado kadayi? How long ago? 8 years ago. Kaise kadayi? Huh? Okay, right. He did his personal license 8 years ago, obtained 8 years ago. It wasn't done with our firm. I thought you would have record with it. He did it with a different firm, but he said he's done it 8 years ago, the personal license, the course for it.
Thank you.
Mr. Deere, did you want to follow up on that, sir?
Obviously, I appreciate Mr. Davenport's in a position because he was asked late, or given this case late. But perhaps I could ask Mr. Singh, when he took the license on, has he read the conditions on that premises license, or any conditions that he might have? I don't think there are many on there, but is he aware of his roles and responsibilities? And it's a criminal offence to sell smuggled goods in a licensed premises.
जब लाइसेंस चेंज करता है तो लाइसेंस पर ऐसे की कंडीशनल की नहीं हो कुछ पर है या इंज चेंज करता है तो पहले लाइसेंस किस ना आते आया कौन लाइसेंस
एक मिस्टर कैली ना था मिस्टर कैली
ना ये पहले कौन आया
पहले औरत कैली है ना
अब वो कौन है बंदे कौन है
तो काम करना है पहले
तू पहले काम करना तू काम करना है पहले तू पहले के अफगानी को दुकान लेते किसको लेती है ये दुकान
किसी और ने अफगानी ने परसों में हुए मैनेजमेंट थी.
Right, okay. I just asked him. He goes, no, but he had little knowledge of his roles and stuff and the conditions. But he did read the conditions, but there was not much there. But yeah, he didn't understand the role of the DPS. Let's put it that way. He probably needs to go on a level 3 course, I guess. But if he's a DPS still.
Okay, thank you. No other questions, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Councillor Coley first because, yeah.
I would like to ask Mr. Davenport that they're claiming that he did the DPS course 8 years ago. I just would like to know what motivated him to do the course 8 years ago, which brings us back to 2015. I'm a little bit concerned about the course he's done. Why was it done 8 years ago? What was the objective of doing it so early when he only acquired a DPS in 2023 of this year in February?
So I don't have instructions on that. It's a question I would need to ask Mr. Singh directly.
No, what do you call it? Let me explain to you. It's what do you call it? To get a what do you call it? To become a DPS, you need a personal license, and he obtained his personal license 8 years ago. That's how you become a DPS. There is no DPS course you have to do. Only when it's advised in certain hearings or some occasions, the committee decides, yes, you got to do a level 3 course. Level 3 is on a rare occasions what do you call it? The DPS gets to put on a level 3 DPS because it's very intensive and quite difficult, the level 3 course. Not many people do it, but to become a DPS on a premise license, you need a personal license, which Mr. Day knows about that.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Councillor Gallant.
Chair. So if I could, sorry, this perhaps asking a similar question, but going back 8 years, could I ask Mr. Jogmohan where he did his training and where he did, so where did he do the training preparatory to the personal license?
Okay, has it I don't know. Okay, he's saying he did it somewhere in Yedding in Hayes. Yedding in Hayes, he did it some training company there around that side.
So
Yeah.
when he did the training, he would have passed an examination as well.
Yes, yes, he would have passed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got the level 2 qualification for it.
That's correct. So
Yes.
you're saying he did in Yedding, he did the training and passed an examination.
Yes,
prior
that's how he would have got a personal license for it. Yes,
in Yedding. Okay, and that's all the details you've got.
that's all I've been told by him. Yes.
Good, thank you very much.
I just, if he could expand a little bit, we can give you a few moments. I mean, I done license training back in 1996 at Thames Valley University in the Slough campus, and I can remember doing it, and that's a long time ago. And you know, it's quite integral to your livelihood, Mr. Jagmohan. So please, if you could think about where you done your training, sir, and what you learned at the training, and what form did the training take. You know, this speaks very much to your occupation. If you could translate for him, Mr. Manpreet. Thank you.
Hoje eu venho dos treinos de guerra, do que se quer, que não se quer, dos training तो नो की सिखाया है उन्हें याद है तो की सिखाया है उस training कितने घंटे दी कोर्स आया कितने घंटे का कोर्स आया
4 घंटे
हाँ
4 घंटे
okay he said the training was for 4 to 5 hours or what do you call और की सिखाया तो
मतलब तो सारे पेपर पढ़े पेपर टेस्ट करके ते चीज की दूसरी साथ करना बच्चों के साथ नहीं करना
he was taught about what do you call it about underage sales, how to prevent underage sales. He was taught about that following the Challenge 25, as he's told me now. And he said that he sat an exam at that point of time as well, multiple choice exam, when he did the test. That's I remember what else was there? Or दुकान कैंसिल on then not to serve to drunks. He just told me that's one thing they told him on that day.
long time ago
और कुछ 2 numbers में कुछ किया नहीं कि invoice या कुछ anything else
invoice to मतलब copy सामान report
what do you call under the crime prevention, what do you call that, the objective, he was told at that point of time how to trade properly, not to serve counterfeit goods and all that, and keep invoices. Clearly that hasn't been followed. He was taught this, but it hasn't been followed. Yes, he was taught.
Okay, Okay, that's very useful to have that, you know, to have that sort of conversation here about what happened 8 years ago and how it's been applied or misapplied in the operation. Thank you. Okay, I don't have any indications now, so we will go to Mr. Deere. If you want to, obviously bear in mind that the Mr. Davenport has said, and Mr. Jugmahan has admitted to all of these offences, and the two things that have been offered is a 3-month suspension and a change of DPS. So with that in mind, Mr. Deere.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I will keep it short, and thank you to Mr. Davenport and Mr. Singh for admitting that on both occasions illicit goods were found concealed around the shop. The one thing he has missed is that his responsibilities. I did my personal license course and my designated premises supervisor course prior to Mr. Singh, and the main part of that was the 4 license objectives. Obviously, we're only talking about the prevention of crime and disorder here, and he's let himself down there because, and I think we've also heard that how badly he was running that shop. But my opinion hasn't changed. I still think 2 occasions he hasn't, should we say, learnt the lesson, and the license that's my recommendation, to still be revoked.
Thank you, Mr. Davenport. If you'd like to sum up, but obviously,
yeah. Well, he hasn't learnt his lesson, or hadn't learnt his lesson in the past, because he wasn't punished. If he's punished today by the imposition by up to a 3-month suspension of his license, that, in my respectful submission, would proportionately punish him for what he's done wrong. It's not the most serious offence in this type of case. Yes, he has broken the law. He's very lucky that he's not been before the courts for the evasion of duty, but he hasn't. He's simply been caught selling cigarettes on 2 separate occasions, 3 years apart. He needs to be punished. His English is obviously fairly poor. Some of what he's been told in the past may well have been lost in translation, but in any event, he's held his hands up and made full admissions to everything that he's done. He's not tried to hide behind me. He's not tried to run some spurious defence on what he's been caught doing. He's admitted to everything, and that's why, in my respectful submission, he can be simply given a short suspension, and somebody else can be appointed as the designated premises supervisor, and that would allay any fears that the council may have of any further offences being committed at those premises in the future.
Councillor, you're on mute, I think.
You're on mute, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just want to explore something. Mr. Jagmohan Singh did refer to not serving drunk people, which is good ambition, but often our streets suggest that off licenses are selling to drunk people, because we see people drinking beer on the streets who are drunk. I wanted to speak to Mr. Singh's current license. What's the ABV currently on the license? Just wondered if you could help.
Yeah, he currently has no conditions. He's got the really old license that's got dragged over from 2005 when the License Act was in force. So he's got a really old license, which he has hardly no conditions.
Indeed. So we want to make it easier to not serve drunk people. So how would the premises think about having a ABV of
Um,
5.9?
As I do regular applications with the Ealing Borough, what do you call it? I deal with the police, what do you call it, on regular occasions. We're happy to, what do you call it, have the new set of police conditions, recommended conditions to be implemented on the premise license, which includes the ABV of 6%. I think that's in Ealing right now. I think it's 6%.
Sure. I need to get some clarification there as to whether it's a police condition or whether it's something.
It's a standard. It's a standard.
No. Just bear with me. But you're very kind. You're very kind to say what you said. But Mr. Deere, I wonder if you were able to comment on that, sir. You know.
Yes, the police do send a list of conditions to premises, and also, as Mr. Kapoor has quite rightly said, but there are still, that would still leave the premises allowed to sell alcohol up to 6%, which there are several brands there. We have brands in the borough that are 5%, 5.6, 5.7, and 6 that have been agreed, but with the police. But of course, those conditions are normally when it's a new premises, or not for when they have actually been not convicted, but should we say found with property inside the premises. So the police come at it from a different angle, sir.
Hattie, I sense consensus here, so I wonder if you can help clarify what I'm proposing here and how we can do it.
Chair, my advice in relation to your queries is simple, in that the matter before you is for a review of illicit products. There doesn't appear to be any complaints as regards to street drinking or indeed alleged sale of alcohol to street drinkers. And it may be that Mr. Davenport will be making submissions in response to that. The police, as Mr. Deere pointed out, have a set of standard conditions which they would apply to new premises licence applications if indeed there are objections, and those are matters for the police to raise. Clearly they're not here in relation to this hearing. Aside from that, it's a matter for you if, as a panel, you find that this is an issue, and indeed Mr. Jagmohan Singh provides any response, and indeed Mr. Davenport may want to make his own observations on your suggestion of street drinking.
Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so I've given my sort of suggested that, you know, Mr. Jagmohan Singh understands that he shouldn't be serving to drunk people. So I'm suggesting a ABV of below, nothing above 5.9. Mr. Manpreet has sort of suggested that's okay. So Mr. Davenport, I'll leave that to you to comment on.
It was something that we would wholeheartedly agree with. It seems a very sensible suggestion, sir. So
thank you. I've got a new laptop, so I've gone from Microsoft to Android to Microsoft, so it's different clicks. Thank you. I don't believe there's any more matters. Hattie, are we free to retire now?
Yes, indeed. If all parties have closed making representations, then yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, Ms. Davenport and Judge Manpreet, what we do is we'll come off the live feed in a moment. And you'll be asked to go into the waiting room. I would anticipate that we will be back here at 12:20 for a prompt sort of 12:30 decision.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So don't log on. Just let's the Democratic Services Officer log send you out